What do you get when you cross a know-it-all newspaper columnist with an awkward, unsophisticated everyman?
Yeah. Well, I'm just not sure about that right now.
Welcome to Couch and the Rube.
Welcome to Couch in the Rube, presented as always by Pure Options Precision Crafted Cannabis, an unbelievable community partner. And one of the things they're doing is sponsoring this weekend's 517 Juneteenth weekend here in Lansing, in Rio Towns. Began Thursday, really. It was Friday, Saturday. The Juneteenth festival is Saturday. And Sunday, they got Father's Day, jazz night, all sorts of great stuff. And Pure Options helping make that happen like they do this show. Go to pureoptions.com for some great June specials running all the way through June 23rd in honor of Pride Month as well. And also, our Friday afternoon show brought to you by our friends at Firekeepers Casino and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Download the app today. Lose all your money on the Euros 2024 soccer championships, which begin shortly after we record this, but really in earnest on Saturday. And I'm going to have to sell the house by the end of it, but looking forward to the next few weeks of soccer. Really a shame that the U.S. Open golf tournament was this weekend because it's sort of a tree in the forest with the Euros going on. I don't know if anybody knows that the golf is even happening. So, Jason, how you doing, brother? I mean, I felt all of Fred Human.
Yeah, we don't have enough time for all of that.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, it's a shame the U.S. Open's on. My gambling woes continue. Jesus H.
This is where I'm saved by soccer. I knew because the Euros were happening, and that's where my attention would be.
I wish I would have known that Scotty Scheffler was going to get a haircut because I knew that he wasn't going to make the cut if he got a haircut.
I stayed away from the golf, and I am grateful
smart.
for it because I rarely break even on my best moments, and so
yeah, but that's why you just do the majors and maybe sprinkle on a couple other tournaments that fix your fancy, I guess. But yeah, generally the golf bets are not going to be fun.
Yeah,
sometimes they can be.
Yeah, every once in a while you hit a Tiger Woods will win a major this year in 2019.
Or you squeeze out all value and just keep betting on any golfer that's in contention.
And wind up making $5 at the end of it. It's fantastic.
It's a great $5.
All right, well, before we dig into the Groovy Donut Twitter questions, and we got some really good ones, I think it's going to be a fun discussion today. What we are betting this weekend, presented by Firekeepers and the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app. Other than losing money on golf or chasing previous golf bets, is there anything that you're betting this weekend?
I think tonight I'm going to do my last SGP for the NBA Finals. Hopefully it's a sweep and we can get done with this series, although Scott Foster is doing that game tonight, which I guess he is the extender of series. So I will but yeah, I've been on a terrible cold streak in this NBA Finals. I think it's because there's 9 days in between games. I just can't get a read on some of this stuff, right? Because during the playoffs, I was winning some SGPs here and there, having a good time watching the playoffs, and then the finals happened, and it's just
they did just play Wednesday.
Oh, thank you so much for playing Wednesday.
Yeah,
Sunday, Wednesday. This is like the show.
Yeah, no, I
don't know when it's on.
I'm happy to win my 6-1 Jaylen Brown Finals MVP bet, which might come home to pay tonight. And I also had a much bigger bet, like 20-something to 1 on Drew Holiday, which had a chance if Brown hadn't played so well. I was worried that people wouldn't vote for him. This was going to be a real test of the media. Like, he ought to finish second. If he doesn't finish second, a lot of credentials should be taken away. A lot of votes should be taken away. I just want to see that people understand basketball at a high enough level to be voting on this. Yeah, I am on the Euros. I am taking a flyer on the Firekeepers iCasino and Sportsbook app on our friends in Serbia to beat England, upset England, and the first one at plus 650. Just, I'll probably actually do it on the draw no bet line, which is plus 475, which means if they draw, you don't lose the bet. But I just have this weird feeling they're kind of a chaotic team. Serbia is, and a lot of pressure on England, and they're still figuring out how to most utilize all the talent they have. I like Serbia in the opener on Sunday, and so that's where and I'll be on all these games. But that's Sunday at 3 o'clock. All right, Jason, you ready to dig into these Groovy Donut Twitter questions?
Yes, let's do it. Jarrett first. Would you rather have Trevor Lawrence or Jared Goff as a quarterback?
So this is based on the new contract that Trevor Lawrence just got that makes him the highest paid quarterback per year in the NFL.
Go Lions, restore the roar.
A couple million more a year than Jared Goff. Not much. It's a good question because to me, and I'm wondering where you're at on this, Jason, like Jared Goff is, while I still think he's getting better in certain ways, you sort of know what you have. Trevor Lawrence seemed to be for a moment on this ascendancy, and now it really is plateaued. Like, you don't know if he's even going to be a Goff-level guy consistently or if he's still got a chance to be even a star beyond that. Like, I don't know. Who would you rather have?
And we didn't know what Jared Goff was going to be with the Lions, right? With the Rams. I mean, he had an unbelievable game, a Super Bowl run against the Chiefs, like when him and Mahomes had like 800 yards. Jared Goff fits the system. I mean, obviously, Trevor Lawrence, the younger quarterback, I think he has better talent than Jared Goff, but the rapport Jared Goff has with the Lions. So, I mean, of course, you're going to take Trevor Lawrence if you had the pick of just any quarterback. But for the Lions, how do you not want Jared Goff right now? I mean, they're chanting his name everywhere. I think it's pretty simple for me. I mean, how old is Jared Goff again? Is he 30?
29, 30.
That's what I mean. We act as Jared Goff is like 37 years old and not a younger quarterback, and he's put up decent numbers, had a great season last year. So
they're very similar. Both guys, if you listen to people analyze quarterbacks, both guys are slow processors. Like that's why they're not great. That's the thing that limits them. I mean, obviously, you can have Trevor Lawrence is a better athlete, younger. Goff obviously does some things very well, but neither of them are like these guys who just see it unbelievably well beyond what's structured for them. So they have to have good coaching. Frankly, I would, if you're talking about next season, I would rather have Goff. If you're talking about the next 7 to 10 years, I'd rather have Lawrence. He's just younger, and there's probably more upside.
Jarrett, does anyone on the Celtics team become a Hall of Famer?
I would argue that both.
I think they're all going to go in with the way the NBA Hall of Fame works.
Yeah.
Everybody gets in.
You're going in.
I'm going to go in, yes. 2 years, yeah.
By the way, yeah. No, I think both Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will go in.
Horford has to go in, right?
I mean,
in the Basketball Hall of Fame?
Everybody gets in, by the way.
But that's what I mean, yeah.
And Drew Holiday will have won 2 titles. But the thing about Tatum and Brown is
Derek White.
They're both going to wind up playing together for a long time. This group has a chance. Now, again, there are other matchups that may be worse for them if they face Denver or something, but this group has a chance to be together for a couple years. These guys win multiple titles as a tandem. They're both, those guys. Tatum's like a top 10, 12 player, and maybe top 7, 8, and Brown's in that top 10, 12. I mean, they're both going to wind up in the. It's also not the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's easier to get in.
The NFL Hall of Fame.
Or any other Hall of Fame. This is like the Couch and the Rube Hall of Fame. You can get in with not a whole lot. It's just basically
I heard there was
gift card.
discussion about Horford, and I'm like, yeah, he's a Hall of Famer, right? And everybody's like, oh, does he have the pedigree and have all this? I'm like, of course he does. He has all that, right? He's got the longevity, the championships in college. He's going to win one in this year. So
interesting tidbit. I'm thinking about doing just a short column for Sunday on both Xavier Tillman and Al Horford and sort of their similarities as role player and why guys like that work on championship teams, right? The Lansing guy, Horford, and the MSU guy, Tillman. Another tidbit that's probably going to go in that column that I did not know until today. Jaylen Brown's dad, Marcellus Brown, who was a 6'11", 7-foot boxer in his heyday, was on Lansing Community College's boxing team in the late 80s when they still had a team.
Damn.
Yeah. And so fought Tommy Morrison. Like, he was a good boxer. Like, he was not some...
What was his name?
Marcellus.
That's
Brown.
a tough guy name.
Yeah, I wouldn't fuck with Marcellus. Nope. Not gonna mess with that.
Professor next, bazooka to the head. Are you taking the Lions over win total for 2024? And from MZA, do the Lions still have a good chance of winning or at least competing for a Super Bowl next season?
So here's the thing.
Yes.
You can say buy high on the Lions, but I sort of am. Like, it's 10.5 is the win total for next year. Like, I'm not taking the under on that because I think they're going to be a good team. I wouldn't, like...
Is that minus 110?
It's pretty. I think it's pretty much even money on the Lions at 10.5. I would take the over. I just think they're going to be really
good.
good.
Over, you fade it.
You don't
what's
touch
the
it.
point with unless you hate the Lions and want to root for them to be ass.
And if they were at 11.5, you wouldn't touch it because 12's all. But getting to 11 wins for a really good team, as long as they don't have some massive injury like that.
And there's 25 weeks in the regular season now, so it's easier.
Correct. They're also 19 games now. No, I'm just kidding. I would. Do they have a? Yeah, I mean, this is their window. I think we all have to start to believe what's real. You don't look like they did last year without it being real. To some degree.
But there's still a lot of pain that I think a lot of fans do, because I realize that, yes, it's been a long, miserable road sometimes for the Lions, but you have to understand what you saw last year, the way the whole the Lions franchise is going. Everybody, like, players actually want to come play for the Lions, which has been different. So that way you have the mentality has to start changing, right? Like this season, if they do well, next season you're going to be excited, right? Or you're not going to be. There's no trepidation. It's
just hard because unlike the Pistons, which, you go back 20 years and they won a title, and they were till like 2008 really in the Eastern Conference Finals every year for like 6 straight years. Yep. You go back 15 years before that, you had the Bad Boys and all that. In other words, the Pistons' misery is generational. If you're like a 25-year-old now, you don't really have any recollection of them being competitive or great, and so you're like, the Pistons are horrible, and you don't trust it. But if you're older, you're like, well, there have been times where this has been really good. The Lions are equal opportunity generational shittiness. And so it doesn't matter if you're 70 years old or 20 years old, you don't trust it yet. And that's why I think it's really hard.
Because if you're 22 years old, right, because you don't really remember if your dad even watched games back in the day, in your early childhood memories, what Pistons teams were there, right?
Yeah.
So do you have any attachment to that? Or?
Well, no, I know. I've listened to kids talk about this, like, college kids now, and they're just – they don't. I mean, that's
individual players, right?
Yeah, but part of it though is that's the problem. This is why you can never, as an ownership group, allow a team to be irrelevant for 5 years. What the Tigers are doing now is just dangerous, because what happens is time moves slow when you're a kid, and so when you're 7 years old and you're forming lasting decisions on fandom for the rest of your life, if that team doesn't win before you turn 13, that's never going to be your team. Like, that's just – you think about where we were with the Pistons and how much the Bad Boys in the late 80s really formed that lifelong attachment. And for me, what happened with the Denver Broncos, which faded eventually, but that happened as partly because the Lions were so bad before Barry Sanders. I was searching for something, and then –
well, you still did that in your 20s, though, because the Lions never made the playoffs, so then you were you picked up another team, either gambled on it or from your fantasy football team, so you rooted that way, but you never bought gear. That's the thing. I just could never buy another team's gear or anything. It's just weird.
Yeah, and that's.
I just think kids now, young adults or whatever, just don't give a shit. But like individual players.
But if the Pistons have been relevant quite a bit in the last, I think there'd be more of it. There'd be more fandom locally.
In the 2010s, you mean?
Yeah.
Varsity Softball Dad, did the Monsters that run the college football playoff really schedule a triple header the Saturday before Christmas? Do they expect me to have my shopping completed before that?
There's going to be a lot of stuff right around that. I mean, on Christmas, you have, 3 NFL games now?
Yeah.
And you have, it's going to be fun. Christmas and the day after Christmas, by the way, Boxing Day is one of the best Premier League days of the year. So, yeah, there's a lot of, don't schedule time with your family around these holidays. Do something in January with your family or something. This is not a time for that.
Christmas is tough, though. 3 football games on Christmas.
Because Christmas is one of those holidays, too, where you cannot –
Get out of it.
You cannot. Right. You can't always dictate what you're going to be able to do. It is, and that
I ask for at least just a TV to be on. Is that too much to add? Wherever we're at for our holidays thing, I mean,
I think that's entirely fair.
Well, you'd be surprised. Mickey Patterson, what is your favorite?
Wait a second. So you usually can't? Are you usually at Teresa's? Like your in-laws, or what's
her family, they don't have the tradition of watching TV and eating in front of a TV like the Nick family did for years and years, so they actually enjoy the company with their other family members, unlike my family. So yeah, it's just question of like, man, all right, yeah, I mean they do turn it on, but it's kind of like when you go to a sports bar, you'd have to ask to turn the TV on because the general manager wasn't really a big sports fan anyway, so they're not diehard sports fans like me, and just kind of, I'm watching the NBA finals during a wedding and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. So yeah, it eventually gets turned on, but they have better memories sometimes from the holidays than I do.
I look forward to the post-Christmas show, the first show we do, just sort of how we got through this and what you were able to do. I've
been through like 6 of them. already, and I've survived.
Be a story worth telling for sure, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. And again, if you're looking for a underrated patio, and by the way, they allow it's a dog-friendly patio too at Midtown Brewing Company. So that's a really cool thing. If you've got a dog and you want to just have your dog chill while you're having your brunch, your drink, whatever it is, there on Washington Avenue, you can do so. Dogs cannot go inside. So if you're not a dog person, yeah, you're. I would recommend. Is that what that is?
I don't know.
I'd recommend inside. Fantastic menu, unbelievable beer selection, great place for a date night on the weekend, any night, brunch on Sundays, trivia Tuesdays. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown.
Is there
Lansing.
like a doggy trough on the patio there? Like, where do they go?
It's great.
Just take a log on the cement.
You're not helping here.
Oh, sorry. I don't know. I'm just asking. Mickey Patterson, what is your favorite Moneyball Pro-Am memory and/or player?
Well, I have a couple for different reasons. When I first went to Moneyball, it was at Pat and Gill. And this is before it really took off. And I actually sat down with Desmond Ferguson for a piece I'm going to do sort of on the early days of Moneyball and the history of it. Not on Moneyball, the sportswear, but Moneyball, the Pro-Am. And anyway, I remember having a conversation with Derek Nix right on the bench after the game. And this was this was the summer after his whole deal where he got arrested and pulled over and all that. And he was just Derek Nix is one of the great quotes of all time, favorite people to talk to. And he was just so open about everything. And that was the first time I realized what a great place Moneyball was to do features and to really get to know people and to have conversations that weren't after really stressful games. Like if you win or lose at Moneyball, it doesn't change the vibe of the locker room like it does an MSU game, And so that was one of my great memories. I remember like Costello and Adrian Payne going at each other in those days. And but then to me, it really was, and I think a lot of people probably feel this way, the height of aim high when Miles Bridges was sort of built for his athletic ability, built for Moneyball, when that sort of intimate setting, packed, must see Miles Bridges, that group when they first started, and all the dunks and everything. That was just a lot of fun. Those are my
and now it's Cohen Carr's turn to do that this upcoming summer, right?
Absolutely.
Working out, he's all yoked,
and I think Holt is actually a great place for it. A little different vibe than I think aim high was necessary for sort of the growth of it because it became the atmosphere could be tremendous. I think Holt is a better sustainable long-term place.
DeUper, does legalized weed help colleges in Michigan with recruiting? Have you noticed any increase in usage since legalization? Is it still a banned substance by the NCAA?
Yeah, something changed with this pretty recently where
it's not a scheduled like one narcotic.
Yeah, and you're not testing for it anymore in the NCAA. That's the big thing. I mean, you got to be a really dumb school to be testing for weed at this point. It's got to be on you. You got to be a moron. So
but I would think that it's legalized, that it does help matters, right?
Yes, and college they won't say it. But I knew an assistant coach once who, when Chris Allen transferred to Iowa State from Michigan State, I mean, he had to teach him how to pass a freaking weed test because the kid wasn't going to stop smoking. And that was back when So like the
how
idea
do you teach him? I need to learn.
The idea that you want, the idea that you would not. Have to test for it here could certainly be an under-the-table advantage. I don't know to what degree.
Spartan 18770, would Michigan basketball have surpassed MSU had John Beilein stayed?
I think there's a chance that these last few years would have been different. Now, under Howard, Michigan was really good for a couple years where Michigan State wasn't as good. There's a chance there would have been more consistency. The other thing, though, is I don't know how much of a fit Beilein was for the NIL transfer portal era, too. Like, he wouldn't have loved that. And Michigan does have some NIL issues in basketball. It certainly did at the beginning. They were slow on that. And so I don't know. That's a good question. The world changed a little bit on all these guys, and I'm not sure Beilein would have loved it and excelled in it. I mean, he had pretty much they were toe to toe. They were the best example of this is 2018 followed by 2019, right? In 2018, Michigan wins both matchups and played once in the regular season, once in the Big Ten tournament. Michigan State still won 30 games that year, but it was just Michigan was a bad matchup for them, had a better team, great Michigan team. 2019, the Cassius Winston Final Four team beats Michigan 3 times. The matchup flips. Michigan State gets to a Final Four. I mean, those programs were just toe-to-toe, neck and neck. It was the pinnacle of that basketball rivalry, and it was really cool.
Next one from Spartan. What Lansing area businesses will MSU football be advertising on their jerseys this fall?
I'm assuming it's
Pure Options.
Yeah. Pure Options would be incredible. There's Pure Options on the or on the field, just make you think all that. Yeah. Pure Options would be good, especially if they're not very good. Like something you need later, you think, that's right. That's what I'm going to do tonight.
Start selling it at the stadium.
That's not a bad idea.
Beer's not enough.
If they're behind in the second half, Pure Options in the third quarter. That would be the rule.
Next one from Spartan. Guys, on this Father's Day weekend, what is your fondest memory of your dad?
What's your fondest memory of your dad?
Oh, man. We haven't talked for a couple years, so I don't, it's hard to dig up fondest memories. I will say, watching him when I was a kid, we used to eat out a lot because at restaurants, we were actually family of the month at Chi-Chi's. We had our picture up there and everything. And
really?
When I was younger, dude, because my parents were 20 and 21 years old, so my mom wasn't really that great of a cook, so we would go to Amel's or we would go to Chi-Chi's and all these restaurants.
Great reference.
Oh, yeah. Dude, it's the best. I remember vividly Amel's. But when we would drive down Saginaw, so this guy was tailgating us when I was a kid. My dad was driving, and my dad, who I inherited my road rage from, so I noticed. So anyway, this guy's just tailgating us. It's dark out. It's at night. And my dad is pissed. And so all I remember is the guy's brights were on us. And my dad pointed over to the parking lot, like to the gas station. Like, let's go over here. The guy pulls out. My dad gets out. My mom's like, Ray, what are you doing? My dad gets out. And all of a sudden, you could hear the guy's wife or girlfriend or whatever just, bah, 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 bah. My dad, this guy was driving an Astro van, which was a little higher up in the ground. I watched my dad. He jumped up and punched the dude right in the face. Head goes rearing back, and the woman just stopped talking. My dad got back in the car, and we drove off. And I was just sitting there like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. So
that is a story worth telling, by the way, presented by Midtown Brewing Company, if I've ever heard one. Yeah, mine is not that cool, I guess. I was gonna,
we live different lives, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, I have lots of great memories. But the thing I miss the most, my favorite memory as an adult, I'll say, was just he was my phone call. I would get in the car, say, he already passed before we started doing the show, but like if I was leaving the show or if I was leaving MSU practice or if I was leaving work, that was often my first phone call. And I would call his office in downtown Lansing, and if he answered by his own name, I knew he was busy most of the time. Sometimes I could tell in the tone. But if he pretended to be some character who was embroiled in controversy, then I was like, all right, we got time to talk here. Like, or if I had ripped somebody in a column and he pretended to be that person or whatever, those were my favorite memories as an adult.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Yeah, and if there was a phone call, right now, he'd be like, this Rube guy, he's really, he's a complete ass. Like, why are you still doing a show with this guy? Jay Riemenschneider next. Athletic directors hire the head coach, but do they have any say at all on assistant coaches and coordinator hirings?
The good ones don't. If you're meddling with your coach's ability to hire his own staff, you don't want to be doing that. Now, you can get in the way of a bad hire. You can get in the way of like a coach wanting to hire an assistant whose track record may not make that an appropriate hire. And I know situations of that happening. But beyond that, you shouldn't be dictating anything.
Unless you want the coach to quit. Like maybe there was a coach before you arrived as athletic director, right? And you're trying to get him to quit.
Yeah, I mean, you can say you need to update your staff, but you shouldn't be determining who they hire.
Right. Next one from Jay. You used to be an AP voter. Where would you have MSU and Michigan basketball in your way too early? Or would one or both not be in it?
I wouldn't even attempt to do it way too early these days. I didn't even do it back then. But like, imagine with the transfer portal right now, I think it's just silliness to even try because you have no idea how these teams are going to come together or look.
Unless you're doing a 4-hour radio show on terrestrial radio, then I understand you need to break down
you got to do something.
Hypothetical schedule.
No, we got a fair bit of runway out of my old AP polls back in the day.
Oh, God, yeah.
It was,
I wish you did it still.
People
were pissed off at you.
We're not actually allowed to do it anymore at the LSJ Oregon Gannett because the Gannett dropped the Associated Press is like we don't have AP content anymore. We can't use AP photos. We're not allowed for whatever reason to be, which I think this part's dumb, but to be an AP voter. So I couldn't even go back and do it again if I wanted to. But yeah, I wouldn't even attempt to do it at this point. There's just too much. I think both teams have the potential to be good, and both teams could be way off. And the problem is, how much work do you got to put into it used to be you could look at the rest of the country based on who was coming back and who they were the last year and recruiting classes. Now there's a million transfers. Like, I don't even know how you would begin to do that at the point that it would be taken seriously.
Why don't you write something? Why don't you write something, huh? Why don't you write something?
Next one from Jay. How flabbergasted should we all be if a scandal ever came to light that Izzo purposely cheated and broke some NCAA rules and was facing some serious penalties?
I would be very surprised for this reason. Like, you go back to the years when Izzo was facing some heat regularly about the different players had been accused of sexual assault in his program over time or had incidents or whatever like that. You go back to that era, and he struggled to talk about that. So he wasn't really comfortable in that setting, in that world. That wasn't his strength, obviously. But I do remember around then somebody asked a question about, I can't even remember if it was an allegation of cheating on him or it was about that subject overall. And he was so fluid and so comfortable. And what you realize right away is he has complete faith that his program's done it the right way. And it's been so much a part of who he is. Now, I'm not every coach and coaching staff probably has gray areas that they blur. That's the way it goes. But I don't even think he could cheat if he wanted to. Well, now you can't cheat because there's no such thing. But
don't coach my team.
Because if it came out that he did, it would kill him. It would break him. Like, his proudest thing is that he's done it without doing that. That, you can say, for example, and this is not directly to say Bill Self has cheated, but you can, if you're Tom Izzo, you'll be able to retire saying, did I win more per, doing it right than Kansas actually did? It's a fair
Tom,
argument.
did you have a stripper pole and Snoop Dogg at Midnight Madness?
Well, yeah.
I don't think you did.
I would be stunned if anything ever came out that was serious against him. If there was some small little thing, like he got suspended for a game when they had Brandon Dawson's high school coach work at camp or something, like if that, and that alone still pisses him off. You want to piss Tom Izzo off? Next time it's a milestone. Say he wins 800 games or whatever it is. Instead, write that he's won 799 because he missed a game when he was suspended. It would set him off. Like that still eats at him.
And we said, would somebody please guard somebody?
Kurt Wisniewski with sweeps of the NHL and NBA Finals. What Big Ten Network program would you watch on repeat?
All right, you got a summer. You've got your pure options. You got a few MGs in you. You've got some midtown takeout, and you're gonna sit down and watch. You're just looking for
Big Ten Plus's ass.
You're looking for a Big Ten Network. A game. What era of Big Ten stuff would you watch? Would you enjoy?
What era?
Or just what games
is
would
this
you watch?
Ebling show? What is this? I don't know what I wouldn't watch that shit.
Okay.
There's nothing to gamble on. There's no sports. I mean, I don't know, some maybe if they hopefully made a documentary that was something of something.
They do some decent documentaries.
That's what I mean. I think they do. So maybe I would try to hope and root for one of those documentaries.
I think I would watch early 90s, late 80s college basketball if they had that on. Like, I would really enjoy watching, like, the Glenn Rice, Ramil Robinson, Steve Smith era, Jim Jackson, early 90s.
Do you watch the whole game?
No, but I watched like a half,
See, I talk all this shit and I see it on YouTube. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. A Lions-Chiefs game from 1993. I'm in. Yeah. And then I make it 10 minutes. And I'm like,
anything from when I was 10 years old is going to bring back nostalgia. Like, if I was watching Big Ten football from that era, I would enjoy it. And anything from like age 8 to 13 is the
I'm sorry, I didn't know that we could pick what we watch. I thought we had to watch whatever was on the Big Ten Network at the time, or try to find something in the current.
No, well, yeah. If there was something you would hope they would have that you would put on repeat, what would it be? That's what I'm saying.
I got you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Kurt Wisniewski, what's the Pistons' biggest move of the summer?
I think it's trading Jaden Ivey. I think it's moving off Ivey. They're going to have to move somebody in the young core. I think Ivey is it. I think maybe it's Ivey in the 5th pick. That would be sort of the logical, easy thing to say. That's a great question. Is that a Brandon Ingram? Is that who knows? But I'm just saying that's the move for the Pistons this summer is Ivey and maybe the 5th pick.
I mean, wouldn't you, if you're the Pistons, take a flyer on the pick that you have because really it's pennies on the dollar for it because everybody's saying how bad of an NBA draft it's going to be?
Correct, and it's not a horrible NBA draft. It's just a horrible NBA draft at the top. Like when you listen to analysts talk about this draft, it's basically like most drafts if you take away the top 6 picks. So as long as you're willing to draft somebody who you think can be a rotation player, and there are some guys you can take flyers on that have upside, but there are good rotation players in this draft. They're good, and if you're the Pistons, I just think the Pistons don't need another young guy right now, and so maybe you're looking.
So what? We need old guys, grizzled vets that are going to what?
Just pros. At
maybe
least
get us that elusive number 1 pick again. Rich Gay next. Now that the Big 12 is discussing whoring itself even further by selling its naming rights to All-State and will be known as either the Big All-State Conference or the All-State 12 Conference, I can see into the future. The Goodyear Buckeyes, champions of the Discover Card Conference, facing off against the Coca-Cola Crimson Tide, champions of the Waffle House Conference for the Facebook Football Championship, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, so here's the I don't think we're going to be as bothered by this as people think. Because if you go back
Coca-Cola Crimson Tide,
if you go back 30 years, there was just so little advertising on jerseys in stadiums. It was a minor league baseball thing relative to today. And we've adjusted to it. I think the things that bother us are the player movement and how the transfer portal coupled with the sort of wild world of NIL has created a roster instability of teams that we don't get to know and enjoy. I think that's the issue. I think if things get fixed in college sports to a point that we can enjoy certain tenets of them, I think we can deal with some of the bullshit. And the other thing is, what we call it, what is officially known as, it's been the AT&T Rose Bowl or something for years. When's the last time you called something the AT&T Rose Bowl?
Tostitos Bowl and all
Tostitos
those.
Fiesta Bowl. You call it the Fiesta Bowl. Like, you can still call it what you want to call it.
All right, some dude, can you name a more unathletic-looking dude playing a position that requires so much athleticism as Jake Rogers? He looks like the last pick in gym class. I marvel at shit like that.
Which is his face, his mustache.
How about Luka? I think Luka looks like a dude that shouldn't be playing the way he plays sometimes.
It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
And by the way, I know that he fouled out. Like, I'm glad that people are starting to realize that Luka just bitches way too much at calls. Yep. And if you were an NBA ref, I would be so ecstatic to call fouls on that guy. I love Luka, but dude, just stop every single foul.
I'm still surprised that more, like if I were playing against him, the trash talk is easy. Every time Luka whines, I would just do the crying emotion. I would do it the whole fucking game to get under his skin. Now, maybe that's not the right move, and he'll just torch you. But the other thing is, he's not going to defend you on the other end. So, but I mean, I love Luka as a talent, and I think he's unbelievable. But that part of his game is freaking annoying.
Some dude, why can't Jared Goff be
we didn't answer the question. Would Jake Rogers most athletic dude?
Well, I thought I answered it with Luka. He seemed.
Jake
good seems point. Like a lot of baseball guys are unathletic. I mean, look at Vogelbach, whoever he's playing for now.
Yeah, a lot of
these guys look unathletic.
I'm telling you what. I mean, these guys are good athletes, but if you want your kid to be a professional athlete and they wind up being like pudgy and weird looking, turn them to baseball. Plus,
or golf.
Very few of the good athletes in this country are playing baseball anymore. Anyway, they got a better chance.
Some dude, why can't Jared Goff be the next Brady? Super accurate, not able to run for shit. Great team around him. Wife is a model. I can't wait to win the next 6 out of 8 Super Bowls. Sorry, this is actually a hot take.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier. It's the processing speed. Like Jared Goff will never be. That's not who he was coming out of college. And I'm not saying he's gotten a lot better at it, but his story is just the opposite of Brady's. I mean, Brady is the 6th round pick who overachieves. Goff is the number 1 overall pick who underachieves at the beginning and then does grow into having a decent career. He's just not he doesn't have the acumen that Brady does.
Andrew Zuiza Graham, do you think those women in Chicago would have still followed you had they known you were afraid of birds?
I mean,
well, you're not afraid of birds. Like if you walk outside, you're not looking up.
waiting
on birds. You just don't want to deal with them in your house.
I'm afraid of bats in the sky. I don't believe in those. I would not protect them.
That's reasonable. If a bat came into your house, I mean,
when I see bats in a tree, I would burn the tree. if bats are in our house, I believe we should be able to move.
They take care of mosquitoes, though.
Yeah. Well, why are there mosquitoes? Like the old. I mean, if you want to question Christianity, the food chain of like why mosquitoes. People go, well, bats take care of mosquitoes. Well, why do mosquitoes exist? Like what? Is this like you remember Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger in the movie Twins? Mm-hmm. And Danny DeVito described himself as the leftover crap. Did like God get to the seventh day and he's like, you know what? I'm going to create mosquitoes. I got a little extra meat. You know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to create deer. I'm going to create the dumbest animal on earth. A little bit of meat. We can eat them. They're going to run in front of cars eventually and never learn. I don't know. We'll maybe fix this part in post. Yeah, I don't know where this is going. So for people who don't know what Andrew is referring to here, in college, I got a big head for a little while because I noticed walking between like the campus and the residence hall and other places around the South Loop that women would follow me. And I thought, man, life is going to be good. I've got
ego for a little while.
I've got it. And I asked one of my women friends. I started telling her about this.
Chicks dig me. And what did she say?
She said, no, dude, they think you're safe. And like in a big city, they see you and they're going to walk 20 feet behind you. And, they're like, but I would see it. They would be sitting on a bench and they'd wait for me to pass. And then I'd see them get up. And I started to notice this. And I was really, really excited for a while. And it did not turn out to be that. That was why they were following me. It wasn't any attraction to me.
So did they start going out with you because you're safe?
No, that wasn't the experience I had.
It just stays at walking then.
Yeah, stays at walking 20 feet away. That's sort of what but it's better than being viewed as a creeper who people don't want to be around, I guess. I'll take that over the other side. That is a story almost worth telling, but told anyway. Again, presented by our friends at Midtown Brewing Company. You're looking for a date night this weekend. Midtown Brewing Company, awesome place to do it. You will love the menu, something for everybody, some light options, heavy options, just a place with great character and great vibes. Midtown Brewing Company in downtown Lansing.
Spartan Suburban Dad next. Saw a lot of praise for Xavier Tillman after Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Even Michigan fans on Twitter singing his praises. Who's that? Wait, what? No. Who is a former Michigan player that you can't help but root for? My recent example is Mike Sandstrel.
Do you have a favorite Michigan player over time?
No.
In any sport? No?
I mean, Charles Woodson, I did watch him play in person. It was unbelievable to watch that dude. But yeah, I don't think any other players. I mean, the Fab Five. I love the Fab Five, but recent, no. Can't say I have any.
Yeah, I have guys I rooted for back in the day a lot when I was a kid. Like I liked that '89 team of Ramil Robinson and those guys. I always liked Ray Jackson. I always felt bad for Ray Jackson on the Fab Five. Like he was like the
no one
the
wanted
stepchild.
to be Ray Jackson on the court.
Yeah, I was like
Jimmy King or.
I was always hoping
Jalen.
Ray Jackson would be a bigger star than he was, and I don't know why that was. I liked Jalen Rose for a lot of years when he was with the Fab Five. Yeah. Like when I play tennis, and I would walk pigeon-toed, or think I was. My feet were actually straight at this point, and so, but in my head, I thought I was walking pigeon-toed. When my opponent would double fault, and you walk from one side of the baseline to the other. I used to picture myself like Andre Agassi and Jalen Rose and the way they walked, and those are my two. It was so. Let's move on.
I love that names just drudge up the stories like Andre Agassi.
Yeah,
you always had the pigeon toe. Jalen Rose or Andre Agassi, you'll hear that story.
And there are more recent Michigan players I've really enjoyed watching, but. Just in terms of fandom. I
mean, Tom Brady, he was fun to watch, but I don't really take that Michigan to when they're in the pros kind of thing. Like Hutchinson on the Lions. Like, do you root for Hutchinson? I'm like, hell yeah, he's a Lion now. I don't give a shit.
Well, like Isaiah Livers. I really enjoyed Isaiah Livers' game at Michigan. Thought he was a really great player. And I've always hoped he'd carve out a pro career for himself. Kalamazoo guy. But that wasn't why.
MZA, should I quit on the Tigers?
I have.
Whoop, wrong one.
Buenos tardes. It is time for the Detroit Tigers Gambling Update with Gramanito Couch and Jason Nick.
I don't know, Graham, the Astros tonight, huh?
No.
8 o'clock.
It's Skubal, too, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, yeah.
Then on the road against the Braves. It's going to get bleak here. But then the White Sox.
I'll probably do a little bit of money teasing the under in Skubal, something like that. Or not teasing, but parlaying. But I have if Skubal's not pitching, I've essentially quit. And because I've been assured by Evan Petzold of the Detroit Free Press that Skubal's just leaving at the end of his contract anyway, I can't even enjoy him. So I don't. I'm out. I would quit on this year. I think taking a month off right now from the Tigers would be healthy for a lot of people.
Yeah, but what do you do after the NBA Finals?
The Euros.
Yeah, but if you don't watch soccer,
that's your fault.
MZA, what would it for you?
What would it take? Probably.
What it would take?
I didn't edit this well. Sorry.
What would it take for you to call next season a success for MSU basketball?
I think you want them to be in contention again at some level. Like they've just been so middling. Like that doesn't have to be. If they're a top 3 Big Ten team and they're a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, places they haven't been in a while, right? And get to that second weekend, and because there's so much that we just don't know in terms of floor and ceiling with this group. But like, regardless of whatever comes out of that, like if you're talking about what would be considered a success, you have to have those elements, I think, to begin.
Travis Maynard, are the Mavs the most favorable finals matchup for Boston? Feels like the Nuggets, hell, even the Lakers could have beaten this Boston team. And will this Celtics title be the weakest in the last 50 years? I'm 42 and can't recall a team that's had an easier route.
The route's been easy, although there have been other teams that have had breaks along the way. But
I mean, the 2020 Lakers team that won it in the bubble thing, and was that the scariest team ever?
Well, but beyond that, like this Celtics team is actually really freaking good.
Yes.
They're phenomenal.
I just don't think people want to give them credit for it because they had an easy road to the finals, and now Dallas is.
If they win tonight, they're going to finish the playoffs and regular season at 80-20. Like if you look at the history of teams that have done that, they won like what 60, 66, 64, 68, something. They won a ton of games in the regular season. They have they won 64, I guess, and they I get made fun of matchup proof, right? I get made fun of for that. But when they have Porzingis and then Horford off the bench and not starting, but is a great player off the bench, and when you have Drew Holiday, the way they are matchup proof. They got length. They got they're selfless. They do not have a superstar, but they've got a lot of what I think the 04 Pistons had in them in a lot of ways. And I think they're phenomenal. I think I think they've grown through losing series they thought they should have won in recent years. I think they're going to be in the finals and, in contention for several years to come. Now, you're right. Like if this Nuggets team faced them, it's a different matchup. It looks different. It feels different. You'd have to see what that looked like. I'm not saying they're definitely going to win the finals. Oklahoma City's young as hell with all sorts of assets. Dallas will learn from this. Minnesota will figure some things. Like they could get. I'm not saying that they're a dynasty, but they're an absolutely worthy champion.
Sunshine Spartan, is this the worst NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals ever?
I mean, I remember, didn't the Red Wings lose 4-0 to the New Jersey in that awful trap style defense they played in '95? Like, there have been lots of bad finals in both.
95 is your example, though?
Yeah, it's probably more. I've had a lot of pure options since.
We're 40-year-old dudes. Just talk about the 90s all the time.
It's not great. Neither has been great. I was hoping this finals would be a real classic but it is not.
Sunshine Spartan, any trips planned this summer?
You headed anywhere?
The end of the month, we're going to the Rolling Stones, and we're going to see them at Soldier Field there in Chicago, and then after that, maybe Wisconsin. But other than that, we're just planning on the fall for Lions. Going to travel, going to go to a road game again. And
do you know which one yet?
Arizona.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I talked to Harry. I was like, man, can I stay at your place? And he just talked about soccer parlay, so didn't get to the bottom of it. But yeah, we're planning that trip. So
we are headed to Marquette for the week, not next week, but the week after that. That's kind of which poorly timed, actually. I won't do this again. I am missing the first week of Moneyball, and I don't even think my bosses are acting like they're cool with it. But like we plan vacations around that now because it is a big deal. Look, those first few games, people like to see that they want writing off of that, and I will not be there for that first week. It was the only week we could get the house we wanted in Marquette. So, but we're headed up there.
That's more important,
Yeah.
Sunshine Spartan Cruises. Do you like them or no way? I'm scheduled for one in August. Hope no hurricanes come.
Are you a cruise person?
No.
Yeah.
No. I hate people, and I don't want to be trapped on a boat with a bunch of people. And, back when I used to drink, it's like, I guess it's so really hard. It's expensive as hell to have booze on, so I would have to sneak some booze on. We're talking international waters. I'm going to have weed on me. I'd rather be like you guys, like you were just talking, an Airbnb in nice weather. Give me a backyard. Give me some sports on TV. That's all I ask for. Some good food.
I mean, there are ways I would do a cruise. I would do Alaska through a cruise, like an Alaskan cruise. I think would be fun because I'd like to go to Alaska sometime. Like there are places
I'd rather just go to Alaska.
Yeah, maybe me too.
Without all the people on a boat.
Yeah, but the Alaskan cruise isn't the party cruise. You know what I mean? Like you're not dealing with.
Well, I don't mind party people. I just think people, for majority of them, are ass. So I wouldn't want to be around them that much.
Yeah,
right. You're on a 2-week thing and you're getting off.
I just seen a lot of things go wrong on cruises too. Like it feels like there are a lot of.
But if you were trying to get rid of a significant other, I would say, because T and I watch a lot of the Dateline and the 2020s. If you want to get rid of your significant other, you don't have to murder her like a lot of these idiots. You just go on a cruise and do the little hip bump.
This is why I would not go on a cruise because I worry Elizabeth. I worry I would be that spouse. Yeah, right. Yeah, there you
go. Sunshine Spartan. No, Preston Zantello. Do either of you have an obscure talent?
You have an obscure talent?
I can lose money gambling quickly. No, I'm good with faces. Like I could see someone on a TV screen and then I don't know. It's worthless. It's a worthless, absolutely worthless thing. I'm terrible with names. I'm really good with faces, and I could tell you who that person looks like.
Yeah, I mean, my best talent is that I can put myself in other people's shoes really well. And no, I think I can know how somebody's feeling in a situation. It makes me sympathetic, empathetic, right? That's my talent.
That should be your platform when you run for mayor of Lansing.
Absolutely. And you can't always say it. You can't, I can't walk around and be like, I understand what it's like to be a black man in America. I can't say that because I don't. But my most obscure talent was I used to be, and I can't really do it anymore because there's too much fat, but I used to be able to put my hand under my right rib and flip the bone out or whatever. It was I don't know, it's kind of cool when I was a teenager and stuff. That's pretty obscure. Is that a talent?
Freak you out? I feel like if I could do that, I just would never do that. It's like flipping your eyelids inside out.
Yeah, it wasn't smart, and luckily Google didn't exist yet.
Mojo Jojo, can we get a Words of Wisdom segment this summer from young Gavin as he goes off to MSU? He's 16 and he's going to college. That's pretty impressive.
I think he's gotten older.
Mine would be to have fun, make some friends, and don't let grades stress you out too much. It'll all work out as an MSU undergrad and Northwestern grad.
Well, of course, you went to Northwestern, so no, I'm just kidding. My hatred for Northwestern is pretty strong. My advice would be to just freaking soak it in and be yourself. That is, be yourself.
Except on Fridays when you're trying to get laid. Don't be yourself.
Well, yeah, not in certain situations, not in those conversations. But be yourself and find a friend group that you enjoy being around and live in the dorm. I think you have to live in the dorms for a couple years now. Live in the dorms for a couple years if you can, because that's where a lot of relationships are made. And you're right. Grades are, I guess, trying to get in certain grad schools and certain things, grades can really matter. In journalism, grades do not matter. So if you're going into journalism, you don't have to worry about that. But yeah, that's just be yourself is what I would say. Trust your instincts. If it feels like you've had too much to drink, you probably have.
Mojo Jojo. Graham, which country playing in the Euros would you want to travel to next that you haven't been to before?
Iceland's not in these. Norway's not in these. Those are two places I'd like to go that I haven't been to before that's in these Euros. Give me one quick sec.
Where's he at?
I am the passenger.
I do hear your voice in my head when I take a shit. I'd like to go to Croatia, I think, and I've never been to Croatia. So that would be it.
Thank God we waited for that.
Yeah.
Mojo Jojo, since Jason has Apple TV now, can he finally get around to Ted Lasso? Severance TV is also a great show on that service. Jay, very trippy, he says. No, I just don't have any interest in Ted Lasso.
I don't know that you would love Ted Lasso. I
don't think so.
Of all the recommendations I've had, and Ted Lasso season 1 is brilliant, so maybe you stop there. but for all the recommendations I've had, like I've never pushed Ted Lasso on you because I just don't think.
Thank you.
Like if it was a show, like I would love to have a show that I thought this is a show that Jason would love that featured soccer. But I don't know that Ted Lasso is that show. I think the Beckham documentary he may enjoy with Victoria Beckham and him. That's kind of fun. The Wrexham Welcome to Dad. There's nothing we need. Somebody needs to do one. It's a little more.
I know. I just watch sports. And it's either crime TV or I watch sports. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Professor, do you like stand-up comedy? Who are your favorite comedians or bits?
Yes. I mean, I do like stand-up comedy. I don't watch it a ton, but I mean, I like Bill Burr. These days, going way back, I was like Chris Rock, Bring the Pain in 1997 is still like
best ever.
Yeah, it's still the most snot coming out of my nose from laughing was that.
I love Doug Stanhope is my all-time favorite, and Cat Williams. I've never laughed harder at a stand-up special than Cat Williams.
Yeah,
like his original ones. I mean, just classic.
Yeah, no. If some stuff doesn't hold up real well, but if you get a chance just to go down a wormhole,
like Eddie Murphy Raw.
Yeah. But there's some stuff
still laugh at it, I guess.
Yeah, I saw Damon Wayans here at Connections Comedy Club in North Lansing when I was like 18, 19 years old, by the way, back when they had a
bragger.
Yeah.
Jesus. How'd you get into that show?
That's a great question, how they let me in. I was not 21. Might be why they closed.
David Jackson, in your interview with Quinn, did I hear you say that the New York Times doesn't have a sports section? Since when? So I bought the Times tomorrow at a Manhattan newsstand. I would not find coverage from a beat writer for the Yankees or Mets.
So what they did is they got rid of their sports staff. They have a sports section. I don't know if I didn't phrase that correctly, but they use the Athletic writers, and so whoever covers the Athletic for the or covers the Yankees and Mets for the Athletic is who they would use. So with in golf though, if you're the guy who's the preeminent golf writer for the Athletic, like Quinn is, and they've hired help now, the New York Times is going to want to be at the British Open. Right, and so they don't have a writer they would send themselves there anymore, where they would have before. So they're going to use Quinn stuff. Yeah, they're, and I don't think this is a horrible idea. I mean, I feel bad for those writers because the Athletic has so much talent, but their sports section is the Athletic.
David Jackson, do you two guys still not own a DVD or Blu-ray player? Does Graham subscribe to BritBox streaming service, or is the Hallmark Movie Channel all the entertainment he needs?
I still own a DVD player. I can't find the fucking remote, but it's in the basement because we have DVD, and every once in a while, I want it for two reasons. One, I want internet's out for whatever reason, and you're looking to entertain yourself, or you can't find a movie that we still have. You never know. I still have a VCR in the basement for that same purpose.
When's the last time you watched something on your VCR?
Not often, but if I want to go see Jordan's 55-point game against or
go to YouTube.
Saved by the Bell, the college years, all 26 episodes that I recorded when I was
or Where
13.
the Men Aren't Seven in your old porn collection.
All that stuff. I would need the VCR, and so my wife actually wanted to get rid of my box of VHS, and I was like, "What? What do you?" Lots of stuff to get rid of.
Did you get rid of them?
No, it was not even.
So you hid them?
No, I just said it's just not even a discussion. I don't know what we're doing here.
If you get rid of something, I'll get rid of something. Say that.
Unfortunately, she would find something. I do not have BritBox. But I watch a lot of British stuff. Hallmark Movie Channel. Don't subscribe to it currently.
Why not?
Well, it's on Hallmark. We get the Hallmark as part of cable. Part of cable.
You talk about it more than anything.
Well, there's a separate app for it that I don't subscribe to right now. But you can find most of those movies elsewhere, and sometimes you have to pay a couple bucks, but that's fine.
David Jackson, is Luka Doncic the worst defender in the history of the NBA? He's 6'7". On the final possession of a tie game playing defense, would you rather have Luka Dean up with a top NBA small forward or some random 6'7" freshman kid who will be playing in the Big Ten this year?
Well, defense is mostly about intent and wanting to be attentive. And, Luka is never going to be a great defender, but he could be a better defender than he is. I also don't think he's 100% healthy with his knee right now. I think that's part of the problem because it's been awful, his defense.
Is that because he's out of shape?
I don't think he's in great shape.
Is Luka in good shape? Meaning, regardless of injuries, with his weight and the way he looks, it just seems like...
What's weird is he looked better at the beginning of the year. I don't even understand how you add pounds
How do you
of
run up and
pudge
down the court
yeah.
like 38 minutes a game?
And part of that is frame. I mean, Luka is going to be a fat 40-year-old. There's no question. And
40. Wait till he turns 60.
Yeah.
He's going to be morbidly obese.
But he's taller than 6'7", too, isn't he? He's like 6'8". I mean, he's 6'8", 6'9". Luka was the great lie about Cade Cunningham, as everybody thought he was like the next Luka. And Luka's like 4 inches taller than Cade. I think he's like 6'9". But yeah, he's not the worst defender in NBA. There's been lots of bad defenders. But right now, he gets away with it because he's so good on the other end.
Sports Guy 1919. What should happen to women that lie about being raped? Reference to the Terrence Shannon case.
So for those who don't know, the Illinois player Terrence Shannon was found not guilty on charges of rape in Kansas. And the case had always looked really flimsy the more you looked at it. And I actually felt bad for him during the season because everywhere we went, students would chant "no means no" and all this stuff. And it just, he had to sue his way back onto the team. He probably missed spots on All-American teams. It affected a lot. And, the biggest problem is not only does it make fewer people believe women, but his life was also screwed up for a while. It's shit all around. And certainly with the lawsuits or things, there are ways you can countersue. And I don't know if he'll do that.
But you think there should be some sort of repercussions when it comes out that there was nothing.
So the thing you have to remember, though, in this case does look like one where, based on what I've read, and who knows, but this looks like a case where you might be able to show that it was made up. Sometimes the difference between not guilty and innocent is a difference, and they just couldn't prove something, right? And a guy's found not guilty, and that doesn't mean something didn't happen and you can prove it the other way. If you could show it the other way to the same extent you would have to prove somebody was guilty, there should be crime and false accusations, and there are to some degree. And I don't know, what. And anybody it doesn't have to be a woman. A man can be raped. Anybody who lies about a serious crime should have repercussions. So I don't know what that would be, but it certainly isn't an awful situation.
But then you get the victims of those kind of things saying like, well, then it's going to stop people from coming out.
Yeah, but I also think people, if more people believed, getting more people to believe credible situations with their first instinct would help more people come forward. I don't know. It's a good question. You shouldn't have happened to you what happened to Terrence Shannon, and I don't know what the recourse is on that. And also, it sounds like, from what I've read, that the prosecutor who brought the charges is part of the problem here.
Matt C., when's the Counter Stallions report dropping, Graham? I need something until college football starts.
I can give you no. It's a story that's it's not something that's off the radar anymore. Put it that way. But getting the real story sometimes takes a minute.
Matt C., what is your guys' thoughts on the CMU vice chair being a Michigan slappy and complicit in the Counter Stallions debacle? He was also threatening to see everyone on MSU Twitter for exposing this fraud. CMU needs the death penalty.
This guy is a clown. Justin Spiro did some, kind of brought it to light on Twitter quite a bit. It's. I don't know why he's the vice chair of the board of trustees. It's a bad look, and it's just weird. It's why you'd want that person representing you. But board of trustees, as people who follow Michigan State know, is not always a perfect body of people.
Aletto next. Will we know if this MSU offensive line has a pulse in Game 1 of the season? I felt the past couple of years we knew Game 1, the O-line was incompetent from the start. CMU, Western, Northwestern, outside of Walker, we saw that O-line just wouldn't be at a winning level.
Yeah, I always say that when you're playing a team that's a mid-major or low-major, you can find out red flags, but you can't prove that you're actually good. And so you want to, and every once in a while you face a team that has an extraordinary pass rusher from a low level and something that doesn't pan out, telling the story of the whole season. But I remember even going back to 2017, they opened against Bowling Green, Michigan State did, at home. It was one of the few games, the only game that really hasn't been on a Friday night in the last dozen years to open. And they won, 9 games that year, 10 with the Holiday Bowl, but they could not push Bowling Green around. And you knew that day that there were limitations to that team. And they maximized who they were, and they had some great moments. But that was a truth that was going to be there. So I do think you see a little of that. It's not that a team can't grow. It's not that there might be an injury in camp that's a key piece to the offensive line that changes things a little bit. But often if a team struggles to get a push and to protect against a low major on week one, that it's going to be a problem all year.
Fart Soup, Couch once said he needs bathrooms and showers to attend an outdoor festival. I get bathrooms, but I need an explanation for the shower. Just in case the bathroom goes wrong, this is why we love you, Couch.
Well, you don't want to smell is what I'm saying. Like
you want to take a shower eventually.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a 5-day thing. I mean, can you imagine the I don't do BO well. I went to pick my mother up from the airport last night.
She had BO?
No, she did not have BO. But her flight from Chicago got delayed. Her connecting flight from Chicago got delayed, and she got in at 1:30 in the morning in Lansing. And I walk in there to the luggage area, and there was clearly a guy. I'm not going to say of what descent or whatever, but there's lots of. But I mean, I almost went home and showered. You just walking through it was just intolerable. Like, I don't know if I could have been on that airplane. She said she didn't smell it on the plane, so maybe it wasn't near her. Maybe it wasn't that bad. But what I'm saying is BO is like my great hatred in life. And I can't enjoy things around BO. I'm not attracted to people with BO. So, like, the idea that it would be like some fun place for you to hang around and you know.
It's offensive.
Yeah.
It's like you're not showering, so I have to smell your stench.
Yeah, I don't get how that's fun. I don't get it.
No. Fart Soup. Am I correct in thinking I heard Couch say Hondo is afraid of black people last week? Just checking. He's afraid of black people.
I didn't phrase it like that. I didn't phrase it.
That might be true.
I didn't phrase it.
A little part of it. Fart Soup, if each of you were granted the ability to hang out for a day with your favorite celebrity, but you could only wear a red thong and a Chad Latz t-shirt, would you do it? Yes, but my celebrity would be Tim Stout. So we'd have to. Like, you mean I can't put.
So it's just you hanging out with Tim Stout in a red thong and Chad Latz. I would love that.
Can I not put? I can't put any shorts or pants on, right? Like, he has to see the thong. Can I kind of like whale tail it out of the back of my jeans or something? It's going to be kind of weird.
There is no celebrity. Not John Elway, not Ron Banks, not doing it for that look. Because they would think of you differently. You wouldn't enjoy the day.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't even be
unless you I don't know. You'd have to have the mentality that you look good in the thong.
This would be
showing it off.
This is the ultimate pure options ad read, because to be comfortable in a Chad Latz shirt and a red thong, and the shirt's
I have the shirt.
Yeah, the shirt's not the problem here.
Yeah,
to be comfortable in a red thong would require. So they should have, they should have like, here's 5 mgs, 10 mgs, 20 mgs,
100
red thong mgs. Like, this is what makes you comfortable in a red thong. This level of mgs presented by Pure Options. By the way, if you are looking to just forget whatever you're wearing or the red thong you're going to be in or the people you're around or the BO, whatever it is this weekend, or any weekend you just want to enjoy and chill, go to pureoptions.com. Check out the location nearest you. Head on down. If you spend $50 or more at Pure Options and let them know Couch of the Roof sent you, you get a free 8th of Pro Grow. Terrific in-house brand. They've got, if you're into, whatever you're into, they've got it there. Red thongs. They'll talk you through it.
Is an 8th enough to get you like in the mood for red? You should ask that at Pure Options.
Yeah, more.
Original Dark Mantonio, if you had to pick one, who would you hire as your head football coach? Pat Fitzgerald, who seems to be the better coach, or Mel Tucker, who seems to be the better recruiter? Both fired under bad circumstances.
I'd hire Pat Fitzgerald.
Easily.
Because he sustained something at a place that's hard to sustain. And I get that it's a whole different era now, and NIL matters so much. But I think swagger matters less now than having an NIL budget. So if you give Pat Fitzgerald a proper NIL budget, I think you've got to, and you have to, you make sure he doesn't, he understands that you can't have a program where there's hazing, if that's what, to what degree that sounds like a problem at Northwestern before. But I would still hire him.
Original Dark Mantonio, does any and every college athlete qualify for a 5th year? If not, what's the criteria, and why do a lot of them play that 5th year somewhere else?
So right now, we're just dealing with this COVID extra year, and this coming year is the last year of that. So any athlete who was around in 2020 still get, that year didn't count, you get an extra year. Most athletes don't. You get the way the 5-year clock works, and this might get changed if somebody sues to play 12 years, which they'll probably win. But right now you get 4 years to play 5. That's the idea of it. And the reason a lot of them you see playing elsewhere is, first of all, a lot of kids are playing a lot of years elsewhere, but they graduate, they grad transfer, you can go somewhere else. And sometimes, too, if you're playing 5 years and you're coming back for that extra year, this coach right now wasn't expecting to have you. They didn't keep a place for you. That happened at Purdue with Purdue basketball this year. Like, it's hard to know. If you don't know a guy's coming back for sure, as you're recruiting on that route, you may not have a place for them, a scholarship for them. That's part of it, too. But this will be the last year you see a lot of fifth-year guys.
Original. How shocked or surprised would you be if it were Penn State and Michigan playing for the Big Ten football title instead of Oregon and Ohio State?
Done. Not shocked at all. I mean, we don't know.
You wouldn't be shocked if James Franklin
not playing for the Big – no, because the divisions are gone now, right? So he can lose a big game somewhere, and it's going to be an interesting year without divisions to just see how it all measures out. And plus, I still have questions about those – I mean, not still. I have questions about those West Coast teams coming east so often. And is there going to be a game that Oregon and USC or somebody shouldn't drop that they do because they're playing at noon, and Rutgers, and I think there's some of that. I'm very curious to see how those teams handle the constant coming east and playing in weird times.
Hans Jurgens, what will you do when you retire? Stand guard of the Spartan statue, raise money for the arts, campaign for the legalization of shrooms. I do the last part now.
Yeah.
Shrooms should be legal. I will still be doing it if they're still illegal.
I will watch a whole lot of soccer and, probably try and donate my time to something beneficial a little bit here and there, but nothing overwhelming.
Telling stories about Kalamazoo while you wander downtown Lansing.
Yeah, that could be it.
Talking to yourself.
I do like customer service. I could be a greeter somewhere. I could see that. I could definitely see
Graham
that.
70 wearing Oakley wraparound shades. This is where this guy gets this wrong. I'll be right back.
I definitely could.
Sir, you came in the wrong door again.
I could definitely see that.
Hans Jurgen, if Jackson Kohler averages only 10 points a game in Moneyball, are we doomed?
I would say if he's trying to average more, that's not a good sign. Yeah, I don't think that'll happen.
Hans Jurgen. Won't this latest natty fuel Michigan's arrogance for the rest of our lifetime? Their previous natty was in 1948, and no amount of beatdowns and embarrassing losses kept them in check.
I mean, certainly they've got reasons to be arrogant right now, and it's not going to be a great look, but it's they won a national title in the sport that they care most about. Like, that's
with a dominant team.
Those are receipts that you just can't counter. You just got to let it happen, because it's not like Michigan State fans would be all that humble if they had just won a title under similar circumstances. Also, the earlier point about coming east for games, and I think one of the worst things that's going to happen to Oregon and Washington, USC, and UCLA is the whole big noon being the thing now instead of primetime games and 3:30 games. The idea that the better you are, the bigger the game, you got to play at noon east, I think is one more reason that big noon is ass. They got games on. I was listening to Wetzel and 40's podcast with Ross Dellinger this week. They were talking about the games at noon on Labor Day Saturday when people are like out doing other things. Like even that weekend, all the big games are at noon. Like big noon, fuck off.
Last one from Hans. Would you be willing to use witchcraft to obtain unlimited donuts for the rest of your life?
Yes. No, unequivocally yes.
Jake Hawkins. Do you think Sadie Washington is head coach material? If so, how long do you think he lasts on Izzo's staff? I
do think he is a head coach material. Now the question is that at probably at a mid-major most likely, and does he get that opportunity somewhere soon? And but I do. I think he's got the temperament for it. He's got the experience. I think he's a good coach. The question always in this day and age is, if you're at a mid-major, can you recruit and keep talent in a time where it's not a lot of fun to be a mid-major coach? But yes, I do think that. And how long does he stay? I think he's how much do they win and what opportunity is there? I would not be surprised if he win. He's also a family dude, and I'd have to look at the ages of his kids. But Saddi Washington is somebody who has turned down jobs because his wife had a good job when he was at Oakland for a while. And if I had to guess, Saddi Washington takes over for Greg Campy eventually.
Jake Hawkins, now that Lansing's old City Hall building will be redeveloped and turned into a hotel, will you and your wife be the first guests to stay at it?
We're not on the schedule, but we will put people up there for sure. Hoping it's a Marriott, but either way, that's going to be a prime spot. Great hotel spot. Excited about it.
It'll be nice to be up there and just be in a hotel instead of a jail cell. It'd be really nice.
Be different for you.
Yeah,
the same view. But and if they do a bar up there and it's similar to like the Rock Bar in East Lansing, at the Graduate Hotel, that's what you want. Overlooking the Capitol and downtown. That's what you need right there.
Next one from Jake. Now that, thoughts on the NCAA ruling that football stadiums can have corporate logos of brands and companies on the field, which would be the best fit for Spartan Stadium.
Well, we said this pure options for sure would be outstanding there. They're probably, given their previous relationship with Caesars, probably not going to have firekeepers on there and the fact that died, which is too bad. But pure options would be it. But I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I mean, it's not the biggest problem. It allows things in college sports to stabilize, and for the parts that are more important to us to love the sport to exist, then so be it.
And you get used to it, right?
You do get used to it.
Yeah.
You absolutely do.
All right, lastly, from Jake, now that he's turned down the Lakers and returning to UConn, is there any chance Dan Hurley could take over for Tom Izzo? Or is one of the more truer blue blood schools like Kansas or Kentucky going to snag him?
I don't think he's leaving UConn. I mean, he's won 2 national titles there. What does he need Kansas or Kentucky for? He's a legend there. If he's in the college game, he's going to be at UConn, I think. And the only way he leaves is for the NBA and then to come back to college somewhere else, right? No, I think he's UConn. He goes to the Knicks, then he could wind up somewhere else eventually. But, he's a lifer. And I think there's a real chance he's a lifer at UConn if he can stomach the current landscape. Although he's young enough, who knows? We appreciate all of you producing our show. We appreciate Groovy Donuts. I don't even think I did a Groovy Donuts live read, and I feel awful about that. I don't know how that happened. We'll have to fix that in post. Go to groovydonuts.com today. I mean, that's ridiculous. groovydonuts.com. Either location, Lake Lansing Road, in East Lansing or in Williamston. You'll love what they have to offer. It is an incredible place. You know how we feel about them. One of the OGs of our sponsors. And, just Groovy Donuts. That's all we're going to say. Just Groovy Donuts, Groovy Donuts, Groovy Donuts. We'll talk to you Monday. Groovy Donuts. Wake it up to them. Couch of the Roof.